The United States fossil fuel companies want to sell liquefied natural gas to Europe. Right now, Russia sells 40% of the gas that Europe uses. It comes from Russia. So the United States wants in on that action. And how can we get that? We got them to stop a pipeline, the Nord Stream 2. We got them to stop that. And it's all based on the war in Ukraine, right? So now, guess who's going to make all the money? As you pay $7 a gallon for gas, and you can't afford your medicine or to send your kids to college or whatever, or see a doctor or your rent, or you have to choose between those things, guess who's making all the money? Guess who's making all the money? U.S. oil companies are set to reap up to $126 billion in extra profits amid war on Ukraine. What the effing F? I thought
they had a tough couple of years during the pandemic because nobody was driving. So I'm really happy for them.
So they're increasing their prices to increase their profits. That doesn't seem to be reflected in the price of oil if they're going to make that much more profit. A lot of things don't make sense. It didn't make sense that they wouldn't sell my tickets individually. They are now in Orlando.
By the way, that was some of the funniest rants you've done when you were about this single tickets.
I appreciate you saying that.
I was laughing my ass off. That was hysterical.
Thank you. Well, they're now available.
You're angry.
Single tickets are now available in Orlando, Tampa, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Columbus. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com. You can buy single individual tickets for VIPs or general admission. Let's get back to this story about the oil. A new analysis released Tuesday estimates that U.S. oil and gas corporations are poised to rake in windfall profits up to $126 billion this year as they exploit Russia's deadly assault on Ukraine to raise prices at the pump. So they're exploiting this situation. This isn't a reflection of actually what's happening. They're using this situation to jack up prices and gouge regular people. That's what this is. Conducted by Oil Change International, Greenpeace USA, and Global Witness, the analysis uses a database that tracks the fossil fuel industry's production economics to assess how much money the industry is set to make as a result of high global oil prices. The higher-end profit estimate is dependent on oil prices spiking to $120 a barrel this summer and remaining elevated as the West moves to restrict Russian oil imports. A major opportunity for U.S. fossil fuel companies, particularly as the Biden administration looks to ramp up gas exports to Europe. If oil prices average $88 a barrel, the new analysis finds the U.S. oil and gas industry would reap $37 billion in additional profits in 2022. Holy shit. Under conservative estimates, we find the U.S. upstream oil and gas industry will collect a windfall of up to $37 to $126 billion in 1 year alone in 2022. You know how much power that gives you, that kind of money? How much political power you have? You have unlimited, which is why they're doing a war in Ukraine for the fossil fuel companies. It is unconscionable that the U.S. upstream companies like Chevron, Occidental, and ExxonMobil, who receive federal tax subsidies totaling millions of dollars every year, are now set to make billions of dollars more from these high wartime gas prices. Who said that? Tim Donaghy, the research manager at Greenpeace USA. Americans, consumers, don't get a break from high prices just because we drill more here at home. Instead, we get more air and water pollution and higher public health risks. The only way to achieve true energy independence is to cut our ties with fossil fuels entirely. Collins Rees, the U.S. program manager at Oil Change International, argued that the new findings bolster the case for a windfall profits tax of the kind congressional Democrats introduced earlier this month. The big oil windfall profits tax, led by Ro Khanna in the House and Senator Sheldon Whitehouse in the Senate, would hit large fossil fuel companies with a quarterly tax equal to 50% of the difference between the current barrel price of oil and the average pre-pandemic price between 2015 and 2019. What do you think the chance of this passing is?
About as much as Medicare for all. And friend of the show, Ro Khanna, by the way.
Friend of the show. Sure. Friend of the show.
Jimmy, forgive me if you already reported on this. Did you hear about the Applebee's executive?
Yeah, we just did it. We did that. We did a whole segment on it.
But this is, it's companies taking advantage of people in all different ways.
Yeah, this is how you punish regular working people. You exploit the desperation that has been baked into our economic society, into our economy, and you exploit that to exploit those people. And that's what's happening. Well, that's what they're doing here. $120 barrel of oil, the levy would raise approximately so if they pass that regulation, Ro Khanna's thing, it'll raise $45 billion a year, according to a summary. The bill would use the new revenue to pay out a quarterly rebate to consumers. Not going to happen.
More of a chance of an ice cream tax on Nancy Pelosi's freezer.
Yeah. A recent survey by the League of Conservation Voters found that 80% of U.S. voters, including 73% of Republicans, would support placing a windfall profits tax on the extra profits oil companies are making from the higher gasoline prices that they are charging because of the Russian-Ukraine situation. So that's 8 out of 10 American voters are for something. Does that mean it's going to happen? No, because those 8 out of 10 American voters are not in the upper 10% of income earners. That's why. Cassidy DePaglia, a spokesperson for the Stop the Oil Profiteering campaign at Fossil Free America, said Tuesday that while Americans are struggling to keep up with high prices at the pump and on their utility bills, big oil is profiting off the war in Ukraine, driving up gas prices and raking in record profits. Fortunately, there's a simple way to stop this profiteering. Put a tax on the excess profits oil companies are making because of the crisis and use the money to send a check to the people who need it, said DePaulo. Making big oil pay for their greedy war profiteering is a win-win for our families and our climate. I agree. I don't see this happening. Why do you think this is not going to happen? Because then what would be the point of the fossil fuel companies engineering this war to get us to sell more oil, gas to Europe in the first place? If you're just going to take their profits away from doing it, they're the ones who are running this. It's a military industrial. Go ahead.
Not only that, I mean, there's so much money in big oil in terms of the politicians. Like, even if a couple of people introduce it, it's going to be cockblocked. It's
of course.
Same thing with Medicare for all. I mean, that's when I realized it's the Democrats' reason. They're the reason. Nancy Pelosi's reason we don't have Medicare for all. It's not the Republicans.
That's right. Okay. Going on, this is from Yale Environment publication. Fossil fuels received $5.9 trillion in subsidies in 2022. Wow. Coal, oil, and natural gas received $5.9 trillion in subsidies in 2020, or roughly 11 million every minute, according to a new analysis from the International Monetary Fund. Explicit subsidies accounted for only 8% of the total. The remaining 92% were implicit subsidies, which took the form of tax breaks or, to a much larger degree, health and environmental damages that were not priced into the cost of fossil fuels, according to the analysis. Underpricing leads to overconsumption of fossil fuels, which accelerates global warming and exacerbates domestic environmental problems, including losses to human life from local air pollution and excessive and road congestion and accidents. This has long been recognized, but globally, countries are still a long way from getting energy prices right. Setting the price of coal, oil, gas to reflect their true cost, say with a carbon tax, would cut carbon dioxide emissions by about a third, helping to put the world on a path to keeping warming below 1.5 degrees Celsius. Such policies would also raise revenues equal to 3.8% of global GDP and prevent close to 1 million deaths from local air pollution yearly. So that's why these things will never happen. I'm pulling for Ro Khanna's bill. My guess is it's just another head fake to his base, and it's never going to happen. Who the fuck is going to do that to the oil companies? Nobody. They're the ones who run Congress.
Well, and Jimmy, I mean, what I'm wondering about is if this ever did happen, which it won't, but if it ever did, why wouldn't the oil companies just jack up their prices the way they would do it when the minimum wage gets jacked up and they blame legislation for it? They would just pass it on to the consumer.
Yeah, there's never going to be a way to inflict pain on the oil companies. They're not. They're the ones who inflict pain on us and the rest of the world. We don't inflict pain on the oil companies. But keep voting Democrat, you morons. Keep donating to them and keep watching the shows that tell you to keep donating and voting for Democrats. You're a moron, and those people are not your friend. Okay, Howard Skora, I want to tell everybody, go watch your play. It's starting this weekend at the Whitefire Theater in Sherman Oaks on Ventura. It's called Gaslight House. Gaslight House. That's right, Gaslight House. And you go to howardskora.com. That's Skora, S-K-O-R-A, howardskora.com. I'll be there Sunday. Thanks for being our guest, Howie. We'll hope to see you soon.
It was so much fun, Jimmy. Thank you.
Hey, we're doing our live stand-up tour. We're going to be in Orlando. We're going to be in Tampa, Columbus, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, much, much more. Go to jimmydorcomedy.com for a link for all the tickets. And you can come see our shows in Los Angeles, too. We do one weekly. Go to jimmydorcomedy.com and become a premium member while you're there. Get all the extra content. Thank you.